Bandidos, I'm telling you right now, the special report on Project Resolve was a bombshell. Bombshell, bombshell, and bombshells. They went after everything in the game. PvP, PvE, global events, gear, expertise, and more. So much to unpack, let's do it.
Entering Dog Zone.
On December 12th, the devs brought Project Resolve from the shadows and into the light. What was introduced on Twitter as a game health update, I'd describe more as a player experience overhaul. And it's a very big deal. Whether you're a new player or a veteran, PvP or PvE, your gameplay experience is going to change. Here's a quick introduction on the project that not at all encapsulates the enormous impact this update will have on the Division 2 player base.
Project Resolve, a comprehensive seasonal update focused on health and quality of life for the Division 2.
Our goal with Project Resolve is to enhance the overall player experience and establish a solid foundation for future content by making significant improvements to the game's health and stability.
From thousands of bug fixes to PvP improvements, we're digging into everything.
I want you to brace yourself. Here comes a bomb.
Initiating Project Resolve meant our team needed to build a solid foundation which has affected some of our previously announced plans. This does mean we have made the tough decision to move the DLC release to 2025.
Yeah, that just happened. The DLC is pretty far away now. So now that we got the bad news out of the way, let's dig in on what we know so far. The PTS test will be for PC only and begins on December 15th. And Phase 2 will be on January 19th and hosts most of the changes that will affect builds. They plan on deploying all the changes with Season 3 on February 6th. Sound ambitious? Maybe, but with the timeline so near, this means that this has all been in the works for some time, and the call to push the DLC was made a while ago, perhaps before Season 2 even started. Here's the comprehensive high-level list of all the things the devs will be touching with this update. The real question is, what's not going to be touched? This was a long live stream, and I encourage you to watch it back and join the discussions. I'll post a link down below, but there were so many changes, even the devs weren't able to cover them all in the hour they spent with us. For you and I, that means this is going to be a multi-stage breakdown of changes as they are revealed and released. For now, let's discuss the headlines. PvE balancing. Although we got some crap news on the DLC, it seems like the direct changes to PvE is nothing but good things to come. For one, all caches in the world will now be scaled to your map difficulty, no matter where you are. So if you're on Heroic, say goodbye to purple gear. They're making a general buff balance pass to all the weapons to enhance the appeal of less popular weapons and make them more engaging for all agents. This is what Yannick had to say.
The idea is and I mean that's in general what we want to do is balancing anyway, but it's like, let's look at everything that is underperforming. Let's take, like, we don't want to nerf the stuff that is powerful, because if it's, it's powerful, it's fun and people like it, so we want to, limit as much as possible, like taking that fun away. But instead, let's look at everything else and try to make everything else just as fun and interesting. So it's really not about giving you more power, it's giving you more options. And so we looked at every weapon in every category, or every weapon family, and just looked at, okay, what kind of quick buff can we make to that weapon to actually give it more identity, and also bringing it up closer to the power level of the best performing and the most popular weapons.
The Eagle Bear is getting a 50% RPM boost, Dread Edict 15% more damage, SRS plus 30, and the Mantis plus 30% damage. These are just a few examples mentioned, but expect so much more. While we're on the topic of weapons, you will now be able to recalibrate the third attribute on all of your exotic weapons. Yup, just like the Ouroboros and the St. Elmo's. That means so many of our exotics are going to get so much better, like the Nemesis, the Regulus, the Eagle Bearer, and the Backfire, to name a few. Ultimately, this is going to lead into us being more powerful. That said, I have a hunch we may see nerfs to damage to targets out of cover on weapons. I got this feeling from what Yannick didn't say.
Which is cool. On the other hand, we know that it means that a lot of you are just going to be, going damage to targets out of cover, because that's probably the best stat out there. This is something we have in mind, and this is something we're going to look at as well in terms of the value of those attributes and making sure that the other options are also interesting. Just want you to be aware that we know what the consequence of that change will be.
Although this is an overall power up for you, this is also going to flatten out the metas, and that's really their actual goal. It's going to diminish damage separations and thus devalue the unique value of that meta. Here's my raw reaction on that topic.
Hostile broadcast picked up.
So he doesn't want to nerf the powerful. So he's talking about things obviously like the Ouroboros. And he's talking about things like the St. Elmo. He specifically said that it feels good to be powerful. That's fun. So we want to not take that away, but give you more interesting options. He spun that. That's a spin. They're buffing all the other weapons in one way or another. They went through every category and every weapon class and adjusted them basically to be more powerful. But what are they doing there? They're flattening the curve. They're DeMetafying. It's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. I mean, but it's mostly a good thing. Okay, I'm still processing myself. So these are my initial reactions here. This is raw. This is raw, baby. You're getting raw Tux here. But the good thing is some of these weapons that we love, like I'm holding the SRS right now. This is getting a 30% weapon damage buff. I love that. I love the SRS. That's a big freaking change. They're gonna push it closer to the damage that the White Death does. But that's gonna be quite a bit more powerful. 30% is definitely closer to the White Death. Another way to look at it is the reason that makes that weapon great is its value has been reduced. That's the best way to say it. So they didn't nerf the White Death. They're not nerfing the Ouroboros, and they're not nerfing the St. Elmos. They are decreasing the value of its differentiator. Okay, the reason why these weapons are popular, the reasons why they're standing apart, they are making those reasons less valuable. Now, it doesn't mean the weapon's trash, not at all. I'm just gonna use the Ouroboros as an example here. I've been doing a series where we've been investigating and thoroughly testing the Ouroboros. So on paper, the Ouroboros is king, but in gameplay, it flattens out against its non-exotic counterpart, you know? And so what I'm saying, the reason why I'm bringing up this example is because what they're doing by buffing the other weapons is they're making that curve flatten out even more. The Ouroboros is going to have even less differentiated value than its non-exotic counterpart. So that's not necessarily a good thing. Hold your horses. I'm not done quite yet. The devs are enhancing the strengths of the 2 and 3-piece brand set bonuses. This is so overdue and definitely welcomed. They mentioned Empress getting 20% skill damage instead of 10%. Bellstone going from 20% to 40% incoming repair. Heligard getting 3% armor regen instead of 1%. I am thrilled at what this is going to do for build diversity. I would love to focus on building from scratch more and not always relying on gear sets. Here's another big one. Expertise costs are being cut. Optimization costs too, by as much as half. Finally, I knew this was coming since they launched the system. It's about damn time they rolled it out. Congratulations to everyone who was pacing themselves on expertise. You win. This is great for the influx of new players too, who feel they are behind in what they can contribute with low expertise compared to their team. And now grinding the system is a little bit easier, but still, not easy. I optimize so much, I'm happy to pick up a savings here myself. Global events are getting reworked, except for maybe the Golden Bullet. The devs want these to be more engaging and rewarding. Thank God. Guardians is going to get armor on kill and a more damage buff. Polarity switch, more max stacks. They're buffing damage bonuses, and there's going to be a free reload element. Hollywood, more explosions, and signature weapon uptime is going to get buffed. SHD exposed, faster stacks, double pulse radius, damage buffs, and much, much more. They didn't talk about the Seasons 2.0 much in this presentation, but we are to expect it coming in Year 6, Season 2. I can't tell you how much we need the current structure to be revitalized. Right now, it creates hills and valleys of activity instead of a possible wave of energy we ride from one season into the next. Something's got to give, especially with the extended length in seasons. You can expect quality of life changes too. Projects are going to be less tedious and more rewarding. That's a first for an open world Ubisoft game, isn't it? We're getting a new optimization and recalibration option called tinkering, and it can be done on the fly in the field. No need to travel back to the base to modify gear. That's pretty cool. They're also making the mod system for your skills easier to manage. Even the SHD watch is getting a change. Instead of the infinite possibility to increase your health, it's now going to be capped at 60,000 HP, but it will be much faster to get there than before. That's going to make PvP engagements a little more fair for the new guy. And all the game modes are being optimized for stability with some changes to the talent pool in the Descent game mode. The devs are going to introduce a talent pool system that might rotate on a weekly basis. I don't know about you, but this game mode probably needs a little more than that. And there's a whole lot of rework on PvP, especially in conflict. Agents will now be able to react to status effects in PvP. For example, if they're on fire, they can tuck and roll to diminish impact, or stand still when bleeding to decrease impact, and builds will have diminished returns on status effects. It's going to take longer to hold the button to go rogue in the DZ. There's going to be an instant heals mechanic for 25% more armor right now. The shield glitch is now fixed. Conflict loot is getting buffed. There will be turrets protecting spawns to prevent spawn camping in conflict. Invaded and not invaded DZs will be more distinguished when it comes to intensity. And lots of gear impacts. Look out for that. I only hope most of those gear changes will be contained to PvP, but history has taught me better. Overall, despite the bad news on the DLC, I am pleased with what I am seeing yet to come. This is my raw live reaction to a few key issues we must be mindful of because it impacts us all.
Hostile broadcast picked up.
What I do feel sorry for are the people that are developing those spreadsheets that created these build systems on websites. You know what I'm talking about? How you can go to these websites and create builds. Scrap it, baby. Those websites, those spreadsheets, scrap it. They're all gonna have to be redone down to the littlest elements, reload speed, optimal range. We don't know what they're touching. Every single weapon is gonna have to be retested. So all of those systems are now gonna be broken. And so when you go in to use the spreadsheets and when you go in to use those build creator websites, you're gonna have to really understand your build to know if it's actually been updated or if it's giving you invalid, outdated values. This is gonna change a lot. These changes that they're making is not just impacting our immediate benefits of the player base, but it's also gonna impact the Division ecosphere. Universe that supports this game. There's Reddit pages, hundreds of Reddit pages that go into the details on how the Eagle Bearer works and how damage to targets out of cover works and how expertise works and optimizations work, and all of this stuff is going to be different. As a matter of fact, we're getting new menus called tinkering. So when you tell somebody to go to the optimization station and open up the recalibration tab, that's not going to be there anymore. You're going to be like, what are you talking about? There's no recalibration, and it's all supposed to happen by February. And so it seems really ambitious, but this is typical Ubisoft, is to, you know, give us the update on what they've been working on the day before they're basically releasing it. I mean, the PTS is right around the corner. There's not much to discuss here or to sway the devs into doing, because it sounds like it's been implemented and we're just providing some feedback. I gotta say, I mean, how many times have we talked about this in past experiences? So I'm not on PC, I'm on Xbox, and I've contemplated about getting a PC just for the PTS, but then I realized they don't even take our feedback into consideration. I mean, how much feedback did people drop about like the Sacred Imperium, about whatever weapon and whatever gear? They don't implement those changes. And it's just like, are they not prepared to be able to accept the feedback, to actually implement the feedback that they're asking for? Why are we even doing the PTS? You know, and they'll make like one or two very minor changes and it's done. They move on, you know, they move on. And so it's like the PTS doesn't really seem effective. It seems like the feedback is given, but what happens to it? The optics are that nothing happens to it and nobody ever talks about it. You know, nobody ever addresses that. Hey, didn't we give this in the PTS feedback that this weapon basically sucks, there's no way it should launch, and it launches exactly like they presented it in the PTS, and that's happened a lot. I've never seen a productive PTS in the Division 2, and so I wonder, with this really ambitious list of things that they're planning on providing, what can we expect as far as a feedback loop and outcome? From my experience with the Division 2, it's basically set in stone. You know, they ask for feedback. They say, give us feedback. We want the feedback. But reality is they just don't have the resources to implement the feedback. They got like this one pass policy. And I don't want to sound pessimistic, but this is from experience I'm talking here. I mean, look at the Dr. Home. How long did it take for them to fix the Dr. Home? I mean, it was like 6 months later. Everybody forgot about the weapon by that time. Anyways, so I just worry about some of these changes not going the way that they hope that they go. They're only getting feedback from the PC community, which is one of the smaller communities in the Division 2, sadly, because we lost a lot of PC players because of stability issues. It's kind of scary that they don't give us more of a heads up. It's kind of scary that they don't give the Division leadership community access. It's kind of scary that console players can't get into the PTS and test this system, start creating guides for these systems, because all of this needs to be redone. We've created stacks and piles of guides. It's all different now. How many Descent guides did you guys watch on the Descent game mode? Well, now it's different. Now it's different. And as a new player coming in, you're not gonna go watch legacy Descent guides. You're gonna watch the latest one probably. And if it's just an addition to a legacy one, that's not gonna connect the dots. We're gonna have to redo these guides from the ground up. And all of that stuff is gonna take time. I mean, the good thing is we got a lot of content to work through. That's great. We'll prioritize whatever. A lot of this isn't just doing it, creating these guides. It's a discovery process. And as you guys know who've been following this channel and have been here along for these journeys as we take on this new content every season, every game mode, we don't just write the guide on day one. We get in there and we experience it. We write a review along with that guide. We tell the devs, hey, you fucked up here. This is wrong. The reward system is wrong. You need to make it more rewarding. It's too grindy. So we give that feedback. Developing the guide is also a process in which we are actually evaluating the system in which they just released. And so there needs to be more of a heads up, and the PTS is just not working for the community. It's just not. So the DLC is going to 2025. So which was originally planned in 24, which was already a delay, really, because they extended the seasons. Their reasonings were that because the game basically needed a performance enhancement, all these things needed to be addressed before they give us the DLC, which I could see that. I could see that. I still don't get it because all this stuff has been worked on. And so it came down to resources. So they diverted way back when, months ago, it sounds like. They diverted months ago and we're just now learning about it. Because all these things are ready to basically implement starting 15th when we get into the PTS. So this stuff is everything that I just talked about has been developed in one form or another. It's been developed and ready to be tested starting on basically the 15th. That decision to push the DLC was made months ago. They would have had to have pooled resources to do these developments, which were resources that should have been focused on the new DLC. But whatever, it is what it is at this stage. You know, let's just hope that we get some clean releases. But until then, I think at the very least, I would love if they addressed the season pass and made some of our changes a little bit faster. Because I'm happy, I'm excited. I mean, I see a lot of good potential. Don't get me wrong, I know I might sound pessimistic, but I'm not. I see some great things. There's all these changes to the weapons, making them feel better. Expertise being more in reach. I mean, these are all good things. Optimization costs going down. It's so expensive to optimize. From a new content perspective, fingers crossed that we have some good stuff coming in the form of new gear and, you know, new exotics, new gear sets and brand sets for February and seasons thereafter that lead us into the DLC, because that's what's gonna keep the hype train going, right? So Bandidos, what are you looking forward to most with this coming update? Thank you for hanging out with me today. My name is TuxedoBandido, and this was another episode of The Division 2. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss out on the fantastic experiences waiting for you in The Division 2. And if you like builds like this, check out the recommended build video I have here for you. If you have anything you want to see covered, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make everything possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be without you.
Follow me.
I get it.